across the board and will facilitate Kongyue if he does want to try and expose Gemini, who has looked a little suspect, as you do continue to mention, in Machi's recent games.
Can I just give a shout out to the audio team? This is the old ranked draft music. I just got that old draft music from like ranked. Oh, I'm digging it. Final matchup of the night. Of course, that's also going to be the Mordekaiser now being banned out here by Machi, and then Marksman being on the song block for the side of AHQ, getting rid of the Varus as well as that Callista.
Yeah, some of the marksmen that you're banning out here are, of course, you know, things that we wouldn't necessarily attribute to Bruce having in his wheelhouse, and then he put on the big Varus carry performance beforehand. He has his signature Aphelios to fall back to if he needs to. His Ezreal as well has looked super clean, but as we mentioned previously, Ezreal at the moment, while super strong, the supports around him aren't looking too stellar.
There you go. It's also going to be that Ezreal, like you mentioned, being banned out. So 3 marksmen being taken away here from Bruce. Does mean here for the first pick on the side of Machi, they opt in to pick up the Wukong immediately for PK, not even worrying about the possible matchup he might be thrown into.
So I think here you take Aphelios plus a priority jungler for AHQ, and then on third pick, you secure yourself the Renekton into the Wukong matchup.
All right. Now, for the side of AHQ, is your answer going to be something like this set? Just try and, you know, keep that wave at bay, or is that also possibly being, you know, a support set? Ysera was one of the supports back in spring, not afraid to pick up the set in lane, and I do think Kongyue might have actually played it once. There is, though, going to be that Aphelios getting locked in for Wako.
Yeah, of course, with AHQ opting to target out Bruce here, saying, look, we've seen what happens when teams 5-ban Mission. It's not what we're signing up for this time around. Mission does have his signature TF still available, but giving PK the signature Wukong, very, very concerning, primarily because AHQ do tend to leave Leaky in isolation in that top lane and try and rotate their resources across the board and the bottom half of the map, and that could be very, very troubling if PK does pop off yet again.
And Gemini this time around going to have that Trundle in the jungle, not opting for something like a Graves where he got to just power farm away. Kind of similar, but again, I'm always 50-50. We might get a little bit frosty, a little bit cold here in this draft too for the side of Machi, as now they're going to go ahead and lock in this Ashe. I believe this is going to be one of the first times we'll see Bruce actually on the champion.
To be fair, there aren't that many AD carries left on the table here, and of course I'm happier to see this than I am to see him default back to that misfortune that we saw maybe try to be forced in the first couple of weeks of summer before teams really were aware that she is not the monster she was back in spring. I like it because it lets you find kind of a pick comp alongside the Trundle and get Trundle some reliable invades going, but at the same time it does mean that this bot side of Aphelios won't be punished all that much in lane.
Do you see here? The final lock-in for the first round is going to be this Echo. Could go into the jungle for Kongyue. Could even see it in the mid lane for Uniboy. A couple different options here on the side of AHQ as they head into the next draft phase, being phase 2 of bans and getting rid of the Kench. Again, some safety in that bot lane being taken away.
Yeah, that's the Renekton that I really wanted to see as the third pick here from AHQ, because it's one of the only direct counters to Wukong that can actually exist in the current meta. Plus, if you're going to leave Leaky alone, pour resources in the Renekton and then just back off out of that lane. Leave him alone, back up, and just say, look, you're on your own, but you've got a lead, you're a Renekton, you can do whatever the hell you want in isolation here. But yeah, now, honestly, if I'm AHQ, I'm thinking, do I want to send this set top, or do I want to actually get something that can weather the Wukong storm?
Orianna gonna also be taken away here by AHQ. And speaking of storms, no Volibear for this matchup. Does mean, though, immediately it's actually going to be the Aatrox being picked up here by AHQ with that Renekton being taken away.
So the Ori ban is just because Ori plus Wukong is kind of a free win on every fight, and then you have AHQ opting into PK signature champ, into PK. If there was a guy that knew the ins and outs of the Wukong Aatrox matchup, I would have no doubt that it was PK, so all the pressure is on Leaky to not only survive this lane, but somehow flourish, especially since he's got the direct counter pick, as it were.
And Zoe here is going to be the lock-in for Mission. Been a little while since we've actually been able to see his Zoe. Usually it is banned out in the first round when going up against Machi. And then going to pair up that engage of the Ashe with something that can hard engage himself, being that Nautilus lock-in now for Koala.
Yeah, so the Zoe makes a lot of sense, because if you consider that Syndra and LeBlanc are both up, the remainders of that trinity, Zoe is the one without a lot of committal, without a lot of cooldown on her spells either, and that means that she's not as frazzled if the Echo does press R to kind of break out of that initial paddle star, more so than if the Syndra ult or the LeBlanc burst had just been soaked by it.
And now for AHQ, final lock-in. Going to try and at least get some engage for themselves, not having to rely solely on that Echo parallel convergence. Instead, going to have that solar flare in the form of the Leona.
Yeah, so I do believe this will be the set jungle, which is okay. It does kind of get knocked around by the Trundle early. And speaking of getting knocked around early, pretty much across the board, AHQ's lanes, bar bot, really should struggle, and that does mean that Kongyue will have less creative invade paths. It means that AHQ have to be really careful about how much room to breathe they're giving over to the top side of Machi, because their bot lane could find themselves hard engaged on as soon as 6 ticks over for both the Ashe and the Nautilus. And it does mean that AHQ have a lot of pressure on them to survive this early game and get to a point where they can team fight.
Yeah, these early levels, and even hell at that level 6, especially in that bot lane for Machi, that's very much the go button in the form of having an Ashe arrow as well as that Nautilus for the depth charge and, of course, Dredge line that's going to be coming out. So very nice to see. And, of course, this is going to be our final game of the night. Machi taking on AHQ. Very much a battle for possibly second to third as far as power rankings go. And I know a majority of us over on the talent team did believe AHQ. I personally put Machi, so I'll see whether or not I took the right approach here. I think Machi can go head-to-head. I think PK might have the stronger lane up in top lane. We'll see how this one's going to go ahead and pan out. As again, we're going to go ahead, load on into the Rift for our final game of the night.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
I'm glad whoever brought the dabbing penguin emote got to have that just front and center during the camera move. Perfect timing. Ah, yes. Final game. It's been a long while since we've actually seen these two teams clash, at least on stage. Can't really say much about scrims because I'm not too sure whether or not these two guys have been scrimming, but I would assume so, considering Machi and PSG seem to be the lovebirds when it comes to playoffs. We get ourselves Kanyu also on the Echo. It's been a long time since we've seen an Echo come out in the jungle for any of our top teams from the former LMS.
Yeah, actually does mean we'll be seeing the set mid with the heal. That is pretty standard we saw earlier. Phase Rush in pocket, Nimbus Cloak to boot as well. Does mean he has a lot of utility going for him and can survive what would otherwise be a pretty miserable laning phase against a Zoe.
Yeah, it's not going to be a whole lot of fun. And already, Machi not afraid to just, get a little bit of poke down onto Uniboy. Leaky is nearby. Puts down one Darkened Blade. Puts down two. Not going to get that second knock up, though, is Machi. Not afraid to go for an invade here, with Gemini still lurking around.
Yeah, midwave already crashing, though, so this is a bit clumsy. That being said, though, PK got chunked out as well. So, essentially, AHQ have traded a little bit of pressure mid in exchange for pressuring out the enemy top laner. But Leaky, I think, can do a little bit less with that compared to what Mission can really do on this Zoe.
Yeah, Mission during this lane phase should have himself a rather fun time, and I think this is one of the first times we're actually seeing Uniboy in a proper, truly losing matchup, at least for the first little bit of the game, and a nice dredge line coming out from Koala, able to help bring Wako down to half health already at level 1.
So, previously, we mentioned the Lethality Varus with Serrated Dirk does let his jungler open up at like 5 minutes 30 for a Drake after that first B. Aphelios very much looking for a BF sword on that first base. Ashe is what I want to talk about, though, because she, unlike a lot of the other kind of Essence Reaver or Blade carries, can actually opt to build into just tier 2 boots as a rush, and that lets you chase people down more reliably with the passive, with the slows, and just have that, you know, kind of attack range advantage that the extra move speed does grant you.
And on top of that too, Bruce himself is rather safe. Mission getting a free proto belt off his first balloon. We'll see here. As Kongyu actually looking to path over. Gemini, though, is going to spot him out. Level 2 only for that Echo, unfortunately, and that's going to force out a flash as he does not take phase dive just yet on the Echo until level 3.
Yep, fishing for the level 2 ganks. Plus, I think Echo just starts W at level 1 anyway for jungle clears because of the percentage damage, plus the big shield and stun, and yeah, it makes sense that it panned out the way it did, but it is super unfortunate for the jungler of AHQ. He loses his blue buff, he loses his pressure bot side, and he also gave away his positioning plus the flash. So if that Ashe E ever comes out in the next 5 minutes or so, expect everyone from Machi just to make a beeline to wherever Kongyu is.
Yeah, that's the good thing when it comes into competitive with Ashe is that hawk shot. It feels like it does a lot more here than it does in your typical solo queue games, as your teams are a lot more coordinated, obviously, and provides a lot of good knowledge on where your enemy jungler has been pathing. Already, though, just want to maybe try and get himself a Scuttle Crab for his troubles, as Gemini's going to take the bot side one anyway.
Looking at AHQ here, though, they even had to rotate Leaky down to help out with that Scuttle take. 3 buffs in pocket for Gemini as well, just a Trundle Echo matchup, going heavily in favor of the Trundle right now. Bot lane looking mostly fine. CS pretty even across the board, should actually build up in favor of Bruce and Koala here, and they could fish for a pick with Gemini ready and waiting to follow up.
Yeah, Gemini made some marks, wanted to go ahead and maybe try and go for it, putting down the on-the-way pings, but looks like he's decided not really seeing much of an opportunity as both Wako and Ysera are playing very far back. Still, pings coming out. It looks like Mission actually wants to try and come down here for a possible play. Will be spotted out on top of a ward, and there is Kongyu as well on this Echo. Looks like he just wanted to get some vision down, deciding against it as he heads back into the mid lane.
Yeah, no real accessible camps for the Echo to clear. Of course, you have Wolves plus the Raptors, but can wait to path for those a little bit later. I think he'll make his way up when the Krugs are close to respawning, so he can just go boom, 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 camp, 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 and now weaves his way down into this. I don't know if he came through lane or through the alcove, but if he came through lane, then he was certainly spotted out.
Yeah, just path through the lane, and unfortunately, too, like you mentioned, there isn't a whole lot for him to take on the map. Now we start to see, though, Raptors will respawn, but Gemini already on to his next wave of clear as he went for the back immediately, and Kongyu is starting to fall a little bit behind when it comes to the CS game.
Yeah, down in buffs, down in pressure, down in flash. This Echo is pretty miserable. Gromp coming up soon, but that's just going to be Trundle food. As, well, Kongyu did smite, but it looks like Gemini is just going to get a deep ward and not actually go for the contest, instead choosing to go for another camp to take away, but of course, a much bigger one.
Yeah, that's going to be the Drake started up here by Gemini and kind of going in line with the objective control king itself. We saw back earlier today when playing up against Nova. And it looks like Kongyu's not even going to try and contest this. Obviously, he went to the top side of the map, doesn't even know that this is happening, but can kind of guess now that the announcement comes through. And now Waka and Ysera are probably thinking, oh, are we maybe going to get dove here? Bruce almost, but they decide to go in themselves. The inflate is going to land. Dredge line, though, immediately back in onto the Aphelios Redemption coming out from Mission. A set play as they wanted to try and go for something here in bot lane. In the end, that's going to force Wako and Ysera to have to back off, even delaying the back here as Gemini shows himself.
Yeah, a lot of bot lane action coming out here, but at the end of the day, I do want to start talking to you again about the top side itemization here. You see the Wukong with the healing reduction thanks to the Grievous Wounds on the Executioner's Calling, and that's a luxury that not a lot of top laners have in the Aatrox matchup. Typically, you'll see a lot of top laners rush tier 2 boots against Aatrox, so they can tether themselves out of the chains just by walking forward through it. But Wukong with the little dash on his W, or even the full committal of his E, has so many movement spells ready and waiting to break those chains that he has the luxury of getting not tier 2 boots as his first item.
See some multiple pings coming out as they did spot out Kongyu on the top side of the map, clearing out his red by a hawk shot from Bruce. So again, providing knowledge on where this Echo is level 6 now. Has been hit for Gemini. So maybe may start making his appearance on toward the map or try and get some pressure on toward the top side of the map as we do have a Rift Herald spawning in 1 minute.
Yeah, I'm looking at that Rift Herald just starting to materialize in the foreseeable future. You have a good vision ward set up by Koala there. He was a little bit early on the roam, but obviously no real punish coming over to the Machi bot lane. And there is Bruce with the start that I mentioned. The rush on the tier 2 boots for the Ashe just means you get more autos out. You get to close the gap a bit more. You can kite a bit more. It's a really good start for a champion that has only recently come back into the meta.
And with those volleys too, it makes it rather difficult for Wako to even step up and trade without minions in front, so he's just going to be stuck underneath his tower. Gemini, though, is spotted out by a control ward as he starts up the Rift Herald. We'll see whether or not AHQ try to respond to this.
Yeah, AHQ, I guess with Kongyue only at level 5, it's a little bit precarious, but Leaky could be in trouble.
Leaky gets hooked out, and Koala, even without the ultimate, first blood going on over to PK, and Gemini still going to go ahead and secure the Rift Herald.
Pretty greedy commitment from the AHQ top laner, but when you have the Wukong ulting on top of you, not a lot you can do. You eat Cyclone into another Cyclone, it's pretty difficult to navigate yourself out of. Bruce did rotate up in case they needed him for the Herald, but as it turns out, he's more than fine just to sit here and farm things up.
And you see Leaky being rather aggressive. I'm actually shocked he decided to continue pushing in, considering the fact that they did know Gemini was already at the pit, let alone not even seeing that Koala's nearby.
Yeah, just a little bit greedy from the top laner of AHQ, but honestly doing more than fine in this matchup. Had a 25 odd CS lead for himself prior to that death. Now it's only 10, but still significant. And that does mean the Aatrox is doing more than fine at getting through what should be a difficult lane phase for him.
And down toward this lane in the bot lane, we already mentioned, like, Bruce has completely neutralized Wako, at least for the first bit of this game. The fact now he's already starting to creep up on a 30 CS lead. And Bruce this weekend has had some immense leads. We saw the 50 CS lead over Wei Lun at 10 minutes when he was playing the Kalista and practically a 1v1. And now here in bot, kind of left alone, it's forced Wako to be down about 4 waves.
Yeah, rule of thumb, by the way, on that Ashe from Bruce is that the ult will take about a solid quarter of your mana. Now he's reset though, he could just throw a cursory arrow down mid if there's some follow-up ready and waiting. But given the position of everyone else on the map from AHQ, it does mean that there's not too much he can fish for in that regard. Hopefully though, we do see like a wombo combo at some point of just the enchanted crystal arrow into a bubble, into a one-shot, but that would be like stars aligning for the dream power play.
Yeah, maybe a little bit early for that, but again, you saw another hawk shot just being used there by our observers, showing that, hey, they just did spot out Kongyu go into his wool, so they have an idea he is on the bot side of the map, and maybe that there's a Leona nearby, as that's going to be a ward as well as a control ward. A bunch of vision being laid down here by AHQ, trying to fish for a pick possibly on Gemini or even Mission.
Yeah, Mission now just fishing towards the side while AHQ are trying to set up some sort of a death brush. 25 seconds on that Drake though, that's why you see both teams posturing around this position, but with Rift Herald and Pocket for Machi, if they get a pick, it's going to be way more devastating.
Wards are being cleared out, but there is that Leona nearby, as well as Solar Flare available for Ysera. Koala tries to get himself back to safety. The Showstopper comes on through. Moonlight Visual finds themselves a kill, and as the Felios is now on the board, but now Bruce on the flank alongside PK. Mission takes down the Echo, but you can tell Machi have to back off, a little bit afraid of Leaky, who flashes on forward. Wako does the same, and he'll find 2 kills on the Aphelios.
AHQ, they turned that around after finding the initial pick onto Koala. It looked like Machi could fight it. They used the Ashe ult, they used the TP, they used a lot, but it's not enough to stop AHQ from just pushing that one home. Stacked up the Aphelios chakrams, stacked up a lot for themselves, and just ran with it.
And there you go. I did like the flank coming out of PK, but still Leaky on that front line, causing havoc for Gemini Mission as well as PK in the end. So nicely done, but Machi continue, get control back onto the Dragon Pit, and are able to secure their second Drake of the game.
Yeah, with no Northless to start off that previous fight, by the way, Bruce had no clear way into the fight, couldn't actually commit to that, couldn't contribute, and Machi, despite losing it, actually do walk away with that Drake, as you mentioned, so not a terrible sequence of events for a team that did just get roughhoused in a quick skirmish.
It does feel a little bit bad for Bruce. I was talking about, hey, you know, he's finding a little bit of an advantage down in his bot lane, and then Aphelios just comes into a team fight, finds 2 kills. Maybe, though, they'll find more. As Ysera left alone underneath tower. Rift Herald is going to be popped. Gemini's going to show himself. We'll see whether or not this Leona can survive this dive. I think it's going to be a big no. He's going to try and do what he can to at least prevent this, and actually not half bad, kind of delaying any kind of play coming out from Machi.
Yeah, you see Ysera just keeping the turret between himself and the Nautilus there, so Koala couldn't hook. Yeah, that was the makings of a big skirmish down there, but it's actually going to be top that's the point of contention.
PK going to try and get himself back underneath the tower, but he's immediately just taken down. No Cyclone available. Meanwhile, bot lane, Solar Flare comes out into the arrow from the Ashe. Bruce looking to finish off the kill. Moonlight Vigil, and for him, able to do some damage. One more auto attack. Won't be enough, though. On to Gemini. Ended up swapping guns to the long-range sniper and wasn't able to get the splash damage from the flamethrower.
Yeah, disgusting amount of damage being pumped out onto Bruce there, but it's AHQ that walk away. Ysera intact from a gank. Ysera intact from a big commitment. A kill on top lane to boot. Plus all these plates that Herald got on the bot lane tier 1 now being answered in turn by Leaky and Kongyue up top.
So we get to take another look here because we didn't see the start of this fight. I think it's just Koala just walking forward, actually gets the dredge line, and then Gemini comes in.
Yeah, no mana from Arrow from Bruce quite yet, and then yeah, eventually he crests the 100 mana mark, but by the time it does come out, Ysera has access to a stopwatch. That was so close. That was the Aphelios just doing Aphelios things, but unfortunately, not enough to really hammer it home in favor of AHQ, but they do manage to stop that dive from happening.
A little concerning here, though, is this top lane. PK, he's had himself some good matchups, at least for the first 2 weeks of the split, but now Leaky on this Aatrox, not fair and half bad. You've seen now PK actually get soloed out with just a little bit of assistance coming out from the rest of AHQ's squad.
Yeah, Leaky has been having a fantastic game so far, bar that point where he overcommit and just kind of got shut out from the Rift Herald rotation by Koala. So all credit where credit is due towards the AHQ stand-in top laner. PK, on the other hand, yeah, he's looked okay. Just been kind of struggling in the 1v1, kind of struggling in the lane itself. Does still have kill pressure, but it relies on, again, not really stars aligning, but a huge misplay coming through from Leaky to really give the Wukong that window of opportunity.
And that amount of pressure also is built up. He took down 4 turret plates, so with that AHQ, they are still slightly behind, but you can see, trying to get some Rift Herald pressure. Kongyue is going to be the first one to start that up. We'll see whether or not Machi want to try and respond to this as Gemini finally heading through the mid lane.
Yeah, HQ now trading back Herald for Herald. This is the second of the game, of course. They don't get the plate one, but they still get a good amount of pressure, hopefully to crack open this mid lane tier 1, and maybe make a convincing case for getting on top of Mission here, who, by the way, used this spellbook, no longer has Cleanse or TP, instead fully aggressive Ignite, ready to try and catch someone out.
You saw Gemini coming around the corner just a little bit too late, as the Rift Herald is going to get secured by Kongyue for HQ, so they'll have that one up and available. Try and knock down possibly one of these first tier towers in mid lane, try and open up the map a little bit, try and get that vision line down, but Machi immediately apply pressure mid.
Woo! Machi now continuing on the shove. That is a little bit disgusting. Kongyue could get a flank with the parallel convergence if Machi aren't careful.
Oh no. Mission way too aggressive, and that's an easy lineup for the Solar Flare, as well as the Echo on the back line. Bruce is brought back by Uniboy, and he gets taken on down. It is just a brawl house coming out from AHQ, taking out 2 members of Machi and popping Rift in mid.
The Machi carries on demand just knocked down. Solar Flare to the face, Echo to the backline, everybody to the backline. Uniboy as well showing up for good measure with a huge suplex to really hammer it home. That's how you play against Zoe. You put the CC down where she's going to return from her ult. Just super greedy play for Mission there. And Machi, they overextend, they get punished for it, they lose mid-tier 1 to Herald, and they may very well lose mid-tier 2 to boot.
Well, there it was. It does fall, so 2 towers taking in the mid lane for AHQ. And if they really want to, they could go ahead and get some dragon control themselves, as we are going to have a Cloud Soul to wrap up our Week 3 action of the PCS. Gemini, though, sitting right on top of a ward. Pretty sure he knows there's a ward. It's just there. Gotta assert your dominance. Gotta make sure that they know.
Suddenly, these more creative paths,
Oh, Mission. Ooh, okay. There is that little subtle, you know, thing in the back of AHQ's mind. You do see that mission starting to get some insane damage, especially around some of these fights around Dragon Pit where you have all these walls to operate. You can get some massive damage. Ysera, Koala trying to go through. Koala trying to be that front line. The engage comes out from Ysera. Still not enough damage, but you can see just the amount of AoE coming out from the side of both squads. PK, though, finds himself a double kill. And guess what? Bruce, mission still alive. Uniboy on the engage, and that's Bruce getting taken on down as well as Kanye finding another one. It's just this poor Zoe left alone to fend for herself and nowhere to run. It's the ace for AHQ.
Uniboy saves that fight with a huge set performance. Machi, after losing their 2 turrets mid, had to take a really weird way towards this Drake, and that let AHQ set up a defensive vision line. It let them choose their way in which to respond, and it let them just have complete backline access to the Machi carries. It looked super promising for Machi at the start because they got a double kill. They got a couple of kills here and there, but this set just comes up huge and finds everyone that he wants from the Machi roster.
And I kind of have to ask here, is this just, it feels like the composition of AHQ just can easily run over at this point in the game Machi's draft. Is it just AHQ being able to fight currently and Machi just not respecting it?
Does look to be the case, honestly, if I'm looking at that, just saying, look, you had a flashless Ashe, you had Mission on the Zoe, just doing his own thing on the side, you left them in isolation while your frontline commit to the Drake and then fished for an engage. The fact that it worked out immediately was nice, but then because the frontline had already committed everything, because the split happened, it just meant HQ could clean up pretty handily.
You even see their PK, not even checking out the ward coverage or even, you know, the pixel brush in the river. So a little bit of disrespect almost. Gotta respect the vision of AHQ and the fact now that this team has been able to find themselves a 4,000 gold lead, just cresting over now the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, one very speedy set just running at you. Pretty devastating, especially when you consider carries from Machi, still no flashes available. A really difficult position for them to be in, but Ashe scales, Zoe scales, Wukong scales to a degree, so it's not all doom and gloom as long as they stop throwing away these mid-game fights. You do also have, not necessarily a win condition in that Cloud Soul, but something that can help you out when it comes to executing on some of these more creative picks.
Yeah, because it almost seems like for Machi, they are looking for more picks overall. You're going to have that bubble that's going through all the walls throughout the jungle during these objective fights, as well as an Ashe arrow. It feels like Machi don't necessarily want to go for a 5v fight, at least not yet in the game.
Yeah, I definitely do have to consider the fact that you have, you know, a lot of options going for you on both sides, but the issue is, for Machi, is that their mobile carries are sitting ducks for the hard engage, whether that's Set, Leona, even Echo from the backline as well. A lot going for this AHQ lineup, especially in enclosed spaces. Once the Aphelios comes online, once Aatrox gets a single reset, going to be really difficult for the Machi carries to even navigate these fights.
Well, seems like stalling out the game is the play here for Machi as they kind of realize, all right, taking all these 5v5 fights have not really gone in their favor, and let's now, how do we stop the bleeding? How do we try and slow down the pace of AHQ? Or is this Aatrox just going to run rampant now, finishing off his second item, Death Dance, as well as that Black Cleaver? And a lot of second items actually coming online here with the side of AHQ. Do note, though, Bruce does pick up his Runaans, but still a little while before that Ashe is going to be able to do a massive amount of damage.
Yeah, speaking of Runaans, by the way, Wako choosing to delay his in favor of a QSS, giving a lot of respect over to the engage potential currently demonstrated by Mission, by Bruce. The big engage utility carries that still do a ton of damage, super formidable for the side of Machi, and so HQ have to be careful about their positioning, even if they are massively ahead right now.
And Gemini, gotta be careful himself. Parallel Convergence comes out, but looks like it's just gonna be calling you, trying to use that to zone away. Scuttle controlled. Mission also pacing down the river, but HQ, they're happy. And that seems to be the way this squad is going to operate. Now, 4 members all packed together and waiting to see if anyone from Machi is going to misplay.
Yeah, there's fishing for an engage, and then there's hoping for the best case scenario. Honestly, while this clustering does happen, it means that Machi aren't actively generating leads elsewhere on the map, so it's a little bit of, a forced play. But the fact they're doing it around the Drake spawning in 10 seconds does make a lot of sense here. PK.
It's only a clone here as 4 members of AHQ just make their way over the wall. Ysera almost able to hit that Zenith Blade, but sides against it, as now Dragon is going to be leashed out of the pit by AHQ. Kongyu actually on the wrong side of the map. If Machi wanted to, they could try and get priority, but they realize that this Dragon will be taken extremely fast if they decide that is the case. We'll see now, does Gemini actually find their way into this? Over the wall, Uniboy goes, gets himself the showstopper onto Gemini. Gemini low, that's going to be the Trundle, getting taken down. Kongyu's unstoppable. PK still alive, gets the Cyclone and some decent damage coming out from Bruce. A double kill though, comes on back. Kongyu able to go back into his ultimate. It's a triple kill for this Echo, and they're going to keep on hunting. A quadra kill for the Echo, and the ace close enough for AHQ, with only Koala surviving, limping in the bot lane.
Koala nearly dying too. Would have been a pentakill for Kongyu, who just finds execute after execute on the triple tap of the Echo passive. Really just running rampant there, dashing across the fight, doing everything he can to set that one up for the rest of the team here. And AHQ, they find their mark, they find their targets, and they should find this Baron to boot.
And there we go. Game starting to snowball completely out of control for AHQ. That is going to be the teleport coming out from PK, trying to at least maybe take this Dragon, and even losing a little bit in this 1v1. Another teleport being used by Machi, really committing, wanting this Cloud Soul.
Yeah, it's the small victories. You take those, I guess. It's something you've traded back in exchange for a Baron power play. Okay. This fight. So, Drake's getting dangerously low here. Machi like, okay, let's go for it. You suplex the enemy jungler out with the set. PK finds a beautiful flank, or what looks like a beautiful flank, until you realize he's just ulting Leona, who's already used her combo, plus a set, who is a set. They almost kill the Echo in the duration of the Ashe stun, but unfortunately because they can't, Kongyu is able to ult back, dash back in, find his targets, and yeah, suddenly you have an 8-1 and 6 Echo with a ton of items on the enemy team.
Yeah. A ton of items for both the Echo, and also now we mentioned that Runan's being delayed. Well, it's online now for the Aphelios, as has that on top of the QSS tax to keep himself safe, and options here for Machi are starting to fade away, it seems here. That's an 8,000 gold lead for AHQ. Going to tack on maybe now to 9,000 as they take down the second tier tower in bot lane.
This Cloud Soul feels really good with the Ashe and Nautilus and the Wukong, because you can brute force so heftily, so quickly. But the issue is, who are you brute forcing onto?
Yeah, because immediately that's the engage coming right back out of Ysera. Leaky forcing out the flash from Koala, and Nautilus has to get himself back to the fountain, sitting on about half health, and just like that, push is going to continue here from AHQ, now with pressure in 2 lanes. And over the wall,
every significant ult being blown?
Again, gets himself, the Solar Flare onto Mission. Mission forced a flash away. The rest of the squad just piling on in. Suplex into the back. It's Bruce that was the victim. Uniboy goes up low, but guess what? Has that Haymaker, trying to get that damage back. Kongyu, that is the 8-1 Echo, able to do a lot of damage, but cannot find a kill.
Bruce's health bar was just a sliver away from death there. AHQ, they hard commit for it. They, recognize Machi have no ultimates to answer back, bar the Cyclone, and the Cyclone was enough to hold on there for the side of Machi. Yes, they lose a bot in here, but they don't lose mid, and more importantly, they don't lose any of their crucial members, so can start to generate some gold while AHQ are resetting.
And there you are, Machi. Even in their base, they don't feel safe, as AHQ were not afraid to just pile in over the base gates. And on top of that, too, now we have Elder Dragon spawning in about 3.5 minutes. There is still that Baron that's also going to be alongside it soon, as the Baron buff is going to just time out just about now. It's about a 3,000 gold advantage coming out from the Baron. And tacking on to the already existing 6, making it a 9,000 gold lead for AHQ before 30 minutes.
AHQ now just, they're down 4 Drakes, but they are up 10k gold, a couple of towers. It's looking good for them, honestly. As long as they can continue to fight on their own terms, drop a solar flare onto the backline, have the set just go crazy with Flash coming up in about 40 seconds or so for Uniboy. AHQ, if they can fight on their own terms, should just be able to roll this one home.
There you go. Another push in top lane. Mission's bubble. Not really finding anyone at this point, and that Leona's just kind of shut down any kind of Zoe chance that Mission has had past the lane phase where we thought, hey, up against the set, it should be a dominating lane. Maybe he can try and get ahead, but instead just kind of farmed away. We didn't see a whole lot of action from him. Gemini, he was more focused on objective control. We didn't really see a whole lot of ganks, other than that one attempt down in bot lane. Whereas, you know, Kongyu, it's been these scrappy skirmishes that him as well as Uniboy have been able to just excel in. Teleport going to come out, just trying to get the push here on toward now a second inhibitor.
Yeah, having the Echo jungle on the enemy team, by the way, you have a pillar bot in the jungle past 20 minutes. They have a champion that spikes heavily after every item purchase. The discrepancy between Gemini and Kongyue so far this game, and honestly, not only so far this game, but the discrepancy that will continue to grow as the game goes on, can't be understated. The game's basically a 5v4 at this point, and that's assuming that Machi's remaining members can actually do their jobs.
PK able to get himself back to safety with the clone, but that's now the base in shambles for Machi, as that's going to be 3 inhibitors, double super minions. The engage comes out from Koala, only hooks in onto the Leona. Leaky goes down low, he gets taken on down. Bruce is still alive onto the backline. Exhaust comes out onto the Echo, has to go back for the chrono break, and maybe a re-engage coming out from Machi. Bruce very far forward, in goes Ysera, but he still cannot find Bruce. Bruce kiting back on this Ashe, and AHQ cannot finish off the game. Haymaker comes out, but it's not enough. PK on top of it too. Shutdown goes on over to the Wukong, and HQ, they can't finish off the game. Mission finds the snipe, looking for another one. Shutdown onto the Aphelios, and just like that, Machi holds on, finding themselves an ace on the final push, but triple inhibs down and super minions into the base.
And Machi, even with their Zoe out of mana at the start of that fight, managed to turn it around. Nobody drops. Instead, they shut down the engage right in its tracks. They shut down AHQ right in their tracks, and they turn that fight around. Good crystal arrow, good burst down and target selection, and good kiting back into the Nexus towers, so AHQ couldn't commit as hard as they maybe would have liked to.
On top of that too, Machi realized we have to take down this Baron. We have to do something, or else we will instantly just lose to the double super Baroned up minions that will crash into the base. And like that, Machi, they're able to delay, but guess what's on the table as well? Elder Dragon alive and available, and looks like AHQ making pings already.
Yeah, HQ should be able to pick up this Elder and then just go for the close anyway. Baron minions are lovely for stopping that push, but it's probably not going to be enough to win yourself a team fight, because you saw how nail-bitingly close this fight was, and that was without the Elder to further augment the damage of AHQ. I'm looking at the Ashe here, just kiting back consistently, auto-attacking when need be. Bruce just really, really clean there. And honestly, yeah, just Ashe mechanics. Beautiful.
You saw there on the picture-in-picture, though, Elder Drake was taken by AHQ, so we'll see if Machi can fare the storm now that they have that Baron buff, trying to at least push back these super minions. Bot lane inhibitor is going to respond. But then they had that stagger take, so that means 2 in the top side of the map still available, and Machi are turtling. They even lost the Nexus tower. It is just the Nexus remaining. This push will come out from AHQ one way or the other. The question is, can they actually stop it? Kongyu always gets taken out completely. Bruce gets obliterated, and that will seal the deal as PK also going to get executed. AHQ pushing onto the base, taking down Machi, and solidify themselves toward the top of the table.
And after an ace, it looked good for Machi. It looked like they could maybe turn it around, but in exchange for that ace, what did they trade? 3 inhibs, 2 Nexus towers, and an Elder Dragon on top of it. Machi, they try and turn it around. Machi, they can't turn it around, and AHQ will walk away with the victory.
Yeah, and AHQ, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I felt like that was a much more, I think I was leaning a lot more over to Machi coming into this matchup, considering just how we've seen out of Machi in the past 2 weeks. But AHQ, even if they did drop, that game over to Liab just last week, we're able to have 2 back-to-back very clean games, other than the early skirmish here and there that didn't go their favor.
Yeah, and I'm looking at HQ and that Liab loss in particular, and I'm kind of drawing comparisons to HK and Alpha, where you have these teams that can give top-tier teams a run for their money that do look a bit inconsistent. But when the coin lands face up, you can bet that they will, take you for a ride.
Exactly here. So with that's of course the final game there for week 3, and we have a more of an idea of where everyone's kind of sitting as far as the standings go. But we're going to go ahead and take a look back toward, I believe this was I'm trying to remember now, was it the 2nd or 3rd Dragon take coming out from the Cloud Soul?
3rd,
okay.
Cloud
3rd.
Rift. Yeah, so 3rd. And then, the suplex onto Gemini, Trundle can't smite, Trundle just gets killed. That secures the objective for yourself. And then, the Echo just goes crazy. They can't kill him in the duration of the Ashar. Merc Shred's OP, plus, I guess, Legend Tenacity. And then, bam, 3 hit. Easy money from there on out.
Easy money, easy Quadra. Could have been a Penta, a Koala. Well, he didn't path up toward the Baron, so Kong is going to be at least happy. In the end, they find themselves the victory over Machi in a pretty well-deserved fight. Considering the last time these 2 teams met, AHQ were the ones that actually did fall because it was back during the undefeated second round robin of Machi back in spring.
Trundle getting killed by the Leona in damage is kind of sad.
Yeah, that feels bad. We're not going to lie there. That one hurts.
Honestly, that's really the case when your team falls behind when you have a Trundle. Is what can you do? Pillar occasionally and walk away. His smites were on point. He got Dragon Soul for his team. Unfortunately, unable to get much else. And Machi, despite what looked like a promising kind of start to the game for themselves, fall in the end. 100% kill participation, by the way. Didn't even track that. 16 of 16 for this Echo.
Yeah, so Kongi is going to be pretty happy with that performance, as well as the rest of the squad for AHQ. And with that now moves them to a 5-2 record, which puts them now, I believe, 3rd overall when it comes to the standings here in summer. J Team still at the top with a 7-1, and then right under PSG at a 6-1. So HQ coming back, it's good to see them. And now Machi seem to be that kind of odd team out of that top of the standings that we expected them to be dominating, considering they came in 2nd overall when it came to spring.
Yeah, no roster changes for this Machi lineup either meant that they didn't have teething issues that some of these other teams were expected to have, given the fact we're still towards the middle of the 1st round robin. So, honestly, Machi.
有点惨，你是怎么样拿回优势的呢？
So you were actually having a little bit of a hard time in the beginning of the game. So how do you come back from that and gain advantage?
前面就是一级路野，然后变得有点劣势，因为点错技能了。然后后来因为逆风了，所以只能等艾克这个角色第一件大装出来去打碰撞，就可以打回来优势。
So at the beginning, because our opponent invaded jungle at level 1, and because I made some mistakes on leveling up my points, so I was having a hard time in the beginning, but later on, when Echo got his first item, I was able to come back from that.
OK， 那本季的话，其实你是第一次选用艾克，为什么你会想要选这支英雄呢？
So this is actually the first time that I used Echo in this season. So why did you choose that champion?
因为团练效果就是蛮好的，然后加上我自己比较喜欢玩团战能有影响的角色，所以就选了。
So I did pretty well in our practices, and also because I like to play champions that has an effect in team fights, that's why I chose that champion.
那这场比赛你是拿下了 MVP 100%的击杀参与率，你对今天自己的表现打几分呢？
So you got MVP in this game, so can you score yourself for this game?
5分吧，因为今天前面玩的有点烂，然后后面团战打回来就一半一半。
So I give myself a 5 because I think I did pretty poorly in the early game, but I come back from that during the team fight, so I give myself a 5 point.
好的，那感谢空月，也恭喜你们拿下了胜利。
And thank you over to Patty for the translations for this weekend. Yeah, I heard. All right, he wasn't even satisfied. He got a Quadra, 100% kill participation, and gave himself a 50%, 5 out of 10. Or is he saying 5 out of 5? I think it was 5 out of 10. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
he's a perfectionist, all right? Any game can be played perfectly, apparently.
That early game fumble, I guess we'll ignore, where the Echo got the flash forced at level 2. Recovered wonderfully, though.
Well, let's take a look back on all the action that took place here for day 2 of week 3. Alpha opened up their victory over Resurgence, still having issues for that Singapore-based organization. PSG bouncing back nicely here in week 3, picking up wins across the board. Same there with J-Team, able to find their victory over Hong Kong Attitude, as well as Liav. And then Machi going to go 1 for 1 as they took down Nova, but could not take the win over AHQ.
Yeah, and after today's games, you do see a clear-cut top of the standings, as we mentioned before, but now at least a couple of those teams separating themselves from that one-win curse territory.
Yeah, one-win curse. It's only remaining to be Liav and Resurgence, and I do believe no matter what ends up happening, one of those teams will be have 2 wins, because I do believe they take on each other next week, I believe on our first day possibly, which means we get ourselves a premium match, to say the very least. We'll see which one of these teams has been able to improve enough, considering Liav seem to be cursed when it comes to playing up against Resurgence, especially when the Resurgence started off their season. Their first victory back in spring was after taking down Liav. Brajai Dragons still having issues themselves, not able to kind of recover to the state that we saw them back in spring. So still some work to do as we head into the final couple days of our first round robin, which starting off next Saturday, we begin with Nova taking on Brajai Dragons. But the premium matchups, Machi taking on HKA, HQ taking on PSG, and then of course, like I mentioned, Liav taking on Resurgence, Philippines versus Singapore.
Nice. Nice. That last one is all I have to say about that one. Yeah, really, HQ PSG, game to watch, honestly. Should be really telling. And then Machi HKA, the inconsistent top teams. Those are that's like the really litmus test for who's a decent team and who's a good team.
Yeah. And if you guys enjoyed the action when it came to the PCS, at least for this weekend, you guys can always follow the pages, whether that be on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, LOL Pacific, as well as check out our new English Twitter, LOL Esports PCS, where you guys can keep up to date with all the happenings on the league, as well as, some retweets on some good banter in between the squads of the PCS for those that are willing to post and, get the rivalry going. We're mainly talking about PSG. If you want some good PSG memes, just don't worry. Follow those pages, and you guys will get it directly into your social media. But, yeah, I think we had ourselves some decent games overall. There was obviously, the odd game here and there during the first day of the weekend, but overall some solid League of Legends action. If you guys also enjoyed the casting, you guys can be sure to follow myself, Embrace, as well as Riku. Be sure to use !casters, and you guys can keep up with all our info. For now, though, that is going to be the end of week 3, and we look forward to seeing you back in week 4 as we go ahead and call it a night.